So recently I had just went to Silverwood for the first time ever, marking 22 coasters that I have gone on. Well, I've obviously gone on more, it's just that I'm not counting the extremely boring kiddie coasters and carnival coasters, things like that. But that's beside the point. Anyway, here are those coasters in order, worst to greatest. Also, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed, so make sure you smash the subscribe button, and let's get into this. Our first ride on this list is Big Timber Log Ride located in the Enchanted Forest. But Game Bro, this is a log flume, and it looks like every other log flume. But this is where you're wrong. Watch what this does. So that portion right there is a roller coaster drop, legally making this a roller coaster on the wiki. This is a one-of-a-kind ride. There was supposed to be another of this model, but it was never made, sadly. For me, this is an 8 out of 10 water ride. Its forest setting is really cool, but sadly, this doesn't do a roller coaster that well. Oh well, let's move on. Next up is another Enchanted Forest coaster. This park sucks in the coaster game. Ice Mountain Bobsleds roller coaster. First look, I bet you're thinking of Matterhorn bobsleds. Yeah, this has to be some cheap ripoff of Matterhorn bobsleds. So basically this ride uses these very sus looking cars on fiberglass track. This literally sounds like a homemade coaster. Okay, I'm tired of making fun of this park, so let's move on to a different park. Alright, one more coaster from the state of Oregon for a little while. And our first coaster I have an inversion and our only discontinued coaster. This is the Looping Thunder. This coaster is kind of strange. So it obviously has the infamous over-the-shoulder restraints. But apparently it was also a portable coaster in an official theme park. Normally a portable coaster would be good for carnivals that move around quite often. But this stayed in place for 20 years. This coaster was very rough and it was super loud. Listen to this. Also, the coaster strangely was capable of hitting speeds of 45 miles an hour on a 36-foot tall hill. Well, I guess that's the end of Oregon's strange coasters. Heh. And our first tie, yay! The Wild Thing at Wildways and Corkscrew at Silverwood. Also, before I say things about these coasters, I want to say something else. Since we hit the first coaster from Silverwood, do you find Athole funny? I'm sorry. Okay, moving on. So I think corkscrew coasters suck. You might know why. Corkscrew coasters are boring looking, they are very common to the point where it's annoying, and the over-the-shoulder restraints cause massive headaches. What makes these two interesting in the slightest is the Wild Thing has an extra element, a loop, and Corkscrew is the first modern inverting roller coaster, and with that has a quite interesting history. I'd imagine you guys getting quite triggered if there was a junior coaster on this list, but I'm putting one on anyway. The Dragon at Legoland, California. I don't have much to say about this coaster. Its Lego animatronics are really cool, and its layout is pretty neat, and I guess that's it. Space Mountain at Disneyland, California. Okay, do not click off the video. I have an opinion on this coaster. So yeah, personally, I don't like coasters in darkness that much. Especially something like this with this little intensity. And I know that this is a beloved roller coaster for Disney fans. I'm one too. But this coaster isn't that cool in my opinion. Lego Technic Test Track at Legoland, California. This was a pretty cool Wild Mouse coaster. In a park filled with kiddie coasters, you need a drop like this. Sure, it's not that intense of a drop, but like I said, in a park of kiddie coasters. Also, I like the car theme, because I've proven to like cars in the past. So yeah, this is the coolest Wild Mouse that I've gone on, and it was cool enough to make this list. Yay, our first Woody! Timberhawk, Rite of Prey at Wildways, Washington. This is a very weak Woody. Airtime is the thing that you need to have a good Woody. This coaster doesn't have it at all. Add an extra 10 feet to the chain hill, you might get lucky. I definitely enjoyed the front seat better than the back. On my back seat ride, my seatbelt was loose and I wasn't that fond of the experience I received. Matahorn bobsleds at Disneyland, California. Sadly, this coaster's old, it's rough, but do you want to know what improves this ride so much? Racing. A coaster that races another train is usually a big change that makes the ride experience far more interesting. And then also the splashdown is a really cool element too. Also, speaking of, this next coaster has a splashdown too. Level 1 Crook. Level 35 Boss. Journey to Atlantis at SeaWorld San Diego. Okay, before we start, let me just tell you that I have not gone on Electric Eel or that peculiar coaster Tidal Twister. Also, I can't wait for that drop coaster Emperor. Alright, let's get into Journey to Atlantis. So this is the right way to build a water ride roller coaster. My favorite spots would be the entire coaster portion and the insane elevator lift that rocks side to side. Amazing. Despite standing almost 100 feet tall, this ride really isn't that intense, but anyway, this coaster is still really cool. Holding spot 11 is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at Disneyland, California. A big point of all roller coasters is cool thrills. This coaster threw out the reverse card and made a super epic, not intense roller coaster. Quite amazing if you ask me. Looking back, I almost think riding this thing is like a Pixar movie with all the little details everywhere. For example, all the TNT, the signs, all the animals, and probably much more. I love all the head chopper moments, and it makes you feel like you're forced to duck. I bet nobody has ever not ducked on this. Oh, the night rides. I rode this thing at night once, and I now remember it didn't feel as forced to duck because I didn't see those moments coming. But yeah, this is a pretty awesome roller coaster. And we've hit my top 10. Yay! The Giant Dipper at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. The ride, the myth, the legend itself, the Giant Dipper. This was my first big roller coaster and the oldest roller coaster that I've gone on. Being, I think, the 7th oldest roller coaster still in operation today, running for 97 years. Something that still surprises me is the fact that it held up through the Great Depression with tons of roller coasters were taken apart for wood. This coaster has a stunning beach setting and is in a fantastic condition. Well, still being rough, but it's well expected for something this old. Last time that I went on this roller coaster, it had buzz bars, which allowed for some extreme airtime. Especially at this one moment where I will never forget. Timber Terror at Silverwood, Idaho. This was my first roller coaster since COVID, and it was a fun experience. When I rode, my lap bar seemed loose, but I didn't care much because it delivered an amazing airtime-packed experience. Speaking of, this coaster's sole purpose of existing is airtime. Sadly, this coaster was way too rough and rattly. My face felt numb coming off the ride. Revenge of the Mummy at Universal Studios Hollywood. Being the only roller coaster in Universal Studios Hollywood, well, the only thrilling coaster, this coaster was really fun. I enjoy coasters with a story. Now I bet you'll attack me again with the Space Mountain thing. Yeah, I remember, but I hate to say it, but this coaster, story-wise, would be far better in the dark. Because if it was an outdoor coaster, you would see light and living things in a story of death and mummies. It would just not make sense. Also, this was my first experience backwards on a roller coaster, which was awesome. Manta at SeaWorld San Diego. This was my first experience with launches on a roller coaster, and I loved it. This coaster was both pretty thrilling with overbank turns, but the coaster as a whole is surrounded by so much scenery and natural beauty. Super photogenic. And we return to the bad coaster state of Oregon. But remember that I said that the Looping Thunder was discontinued? Well, this was its replacement, and it was far from sucking. Adrenaline Peak at Oaks Park, Oregon. This coaster might be small, short, and compact, but this demonic layout will pack a punch. Having both a 90-degree chain and a 97-degree drop, this coaster was intimidating. And I guess the only thing stopping this is the fact that this thing literally lasts only 45 seconds, which kinda sucks, sadly. Okay, I'm warning you here and now to brace yourselves for this next one. Do not puke. Do not puke. Okay, here we go. Big Apple Coaster at New York, Nevada. Okay, I am well aware of the fact that the coaster community despises this roller coaster. But I had a fun time on this thing. This was my first and only current coaster to break the 200 feet mark, and it had a pretty long layout. Plus, this would probably be my only Togo I will ever ride, being the fact that this is the last one left in the US. I went on this thing at night, and it gave a great view of the city lights. Though, of course, being Manhattan Express, it does have a few flaws, and I'll just say 3. 1. This ride is rough. 2. The mid-course brake run literally kills the ride. No point for it. And 3. You probably know this one.
Bruh, look at this dude. Wait till you see the. No, 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 no. Look at the top of his head.
Oh wait, what? New trains?
Oh my god! Wow! Oh my god!
And with the amazing strap restraints, this would probably take off the rough factor entirely. And with this, there should be no flow. Let's move on. Tremors at Silverwood, Idaho. Simply, wow. This coaster was amazing. For the first time ever, I thought we were going too fast on a roller coaster. Tremors hit a top speed of 62 miles per hour, which is insane for a wooden roller coaster. This coaster is taller, faster, and smoother than Timber Terror, which makes it far better in my opinion. There was one point that happened on both rides, my day ride and my night ride, where on the bunny hop portion of the ride, it seemed like the cars derailed following the feeling that the coaster seemed too fast. Overall, it was super fun and super thrilling of an experience. And at last, we hit the top 3 on my list. Let's go. The Incredi coaster at Disney California Adventure. This coaster was amazing in almost every detail. It was pretty fast, its theming was great, its pacing was great. On the pier it looked very photogenic, it's super smooth, and there are probably many more details that I could think of at the moment, but you get the general idea. This thing is awesome. Being now a 20-year-old coaster, I'm still surprised that it runs like brand new. The only thing that sucks about this coaster is the over-the-shoulder restraints. They make the loop kinda rough, but not that rough. That problem would be out of the way right away with new and better trains. But yeah, now on to Silver. And now taking the Silver at Silverwood will be Stunt Pilot at Silverwood, Idaho. My first experience on a roller coaster by RMC. Amazing. Stunt Pilot was a very wild experience, and it was super smooth. This coaster also delivered a first experience for me. When the train hit the final brake run, my vision was literally blurred for like 10 seconds. Must have been because of how aggressive this roller coaster is. Riding in the front seat of this ride was awesome, and the overall theme was really cool, and I really felt like a stunt pilot. And of course, now onto the bad things, which really aren't that bad. There is the fact that the shoulder straps continuously fell off my shoulders, telling me that they really didn't have much purpose, I think. And also the moving station was quite annoying, but since it allows a faster line, I shouldn't be complaining. So yeah, I cannot wait to ride my next Raptor. And now, to number 1. Guys, we're finally here! Number 1! And that is, drumroll please, Aftershock at Silverwood, Idaho. If you looked at Adrenaline Peak as a death trap, you'd be dead wrong because this ride is far scarier. So this ride is an inverted boomerang coaster, meaning that this coaster starts by going up the chain hill backwards. Then it goes through its layout, then goes up a similar chain, then does the entire layout backwards. This ride does its chain hills completely vertical, and you go up almost 200 feet, almost making this thing a hyper coaster. Despite having over-the-shoulder restraint, it has literally no headbanging, which surprised me. And walking off this ride, I felt like I saw a ghost.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.